John Doyle from OptixEQ, and today I'm going to look at Race 9 at Belmont, Sunday, September the 15th. I'm just looking at the plot of this optional claimer, 40,000, some good horses in here, but some older horses, and maybe we're going to take a shot against some of those older horses. You look at the contention, it's a Sun, which is average, but I think there's going to be at least a conflict here, because if you look up at the run styles, E and E+, there's just a cluster right in that. So all those horses kind of like to be forwardly placed, and you can see it visually on the plot as well. You see all those circles to the left, 1A, 2, 10, 4. So that just says to me there's a potential maybe for the horses to the right. You see the PC and see the closers, 7, 8, and 9 kind of are outside of that. They're going to be sitting off the pace that looks fairly contentious. The speed rating is high, so we expect the pace to be brisk. So 7, 8, and 9 are the squares too. They're the squares in the race on both the standard and surface and distance. So I'm going to start by handicapping with them, especially since I kind of briefly looked at the odds of the 7, 8, and 9. 30 to 1, 30 to 1, 15 to 1. Okay. I'm not quite sure about the 9. He's coming off a 394-day layoff. So for all intents and purposes, I'm going to just, for this purpose of this video, and I suggest you kind of do what you need to do with that, I'm going to focus on the 7 and 8 as potentials. And I'm probably just going to end up using both of them because to me they're viable. But let's just take a deeper look. First, I'm going to look at the quad percentage. Again, this is to the upper right. You see we could change these. These are just different filters based on different handicapping categories. What quad percentage is just tells you, based on this track surface and distance, which horse might have an edge in terms of their plot position. So, if you look at just this, it looks like the 5 and the 7 do. 5 and the 8, I'm sorry, have an advantage. Looks like the 4 doesn't. So, but if you look more closely, if you filter this, and let's just look for, instead of standard, I want to look for horses that have run on the turf, so surface and distance. And you can see the 8 really pops there. So the 8 has, he's according to this the best plot position. So he's it makes him viable. Again, 30 to 1. I'm probably going to try to use this horse somewhere. I'm going to go into the grid. I just want to delve down a little bit into both these horses again, the 7 and the 8. And typically when you see these odds, these horses probably come up slower on speed figures, right? At least current form. So let's just look at the 7 for now. Outrageous bet. He's a 5-year-old, and his last race he was slow out of the gate, going 5.5 at Saratoga. Didn't have a good Saratoga meet. He kind of came off a layoff from Belmont where he ran at 7 furlongs, and just didn't have a great meet. He was kind of a little bit off form. So you're kind of gambling a little bit here, obviously. I just want to look at a couple of things. I want to look at him at 7 furlongs. He's run speed figures that compete in the past, but it's been a while. So you're gambling a little bit with this horse's current form. But the one thing I noticed that was kind of interesting to me was Alvarado. Alvarado is on this horse, and I just thought that I got to spell the name right. He's ridden this horse a lot in the past, and let me just take out the races where he got scratched. And he's just seemed to do okay with this horse, especially from off the pace. He's won with this horse previously off the pace. Actually, this race was early in his career. Let's just focus on the turf races. Doing some filtering here with the grid. And he's got a wide with no covers. That's kind of an excuse. Better than look at for second. A close where he finished first. Another close where he finished second. So there's some races with Alvarado up that this horse has run that's look pretty good. So again, he's worth a shot, at least a guy to hit the board at that big of a price with the pace scenario in his favor. Let's now flip to the 8. Mission. This is the one we thought had a good plot. It looks like, just on a class perspective, he's been running, against $25,000 claimers, and with some minor, some medium success. So he looks kind of cheap, but a lot of these races were on dirt. If you just kind of focus in on his turf form, it looks pretty good. He did try to compete early at 7 furlongs back last year. versus this level. He ran 6th in that race. That looked like a pretty good race. He changed trainers to Chad Summers from Rodriguez. This horse is again, the one thing I really noticed about him was the turf race 2 back. So he's kind of like 4th off a layoff now, and I just noticed that race at Saratoga. I'm just going to drill down on that race a little bit. I'm going to open it up. This was the plot for the race, and I just want to take a look because I found something interesting about the level of competition. So I just want to look at horses that came out of that race and what they did next. So I do a filter of greater than 1907-27, the date. And I noticed this horse, Shiki Shabazz, who won a stakes race, which had Disco Partner and all the rest. I mean, he had an easy lead and stuff, but he ran huge. So I would just look at that $25,000 level race a lot differently now, knowing that, that horse came out of it. I don't want to get into all the other things in terms of, maybe some of the kinks in some of the speed horses and, whatever. But just based on this, I mean, I'm using the 7 and 8 in my exotics and trying to score out with a big price and try to get the, the pace meltdown that I'm rooting for. Okay, some risk reward, but again, another way we use OptixPLOT to try to identify potential out of the box races.